Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that y'all had a nice rest and break. As I've indicated before, I do need to ask you, has anyone seen anything on news, done any kind of investigation, found out anything about this case? Okay. No one from the jury has indicated they have done such. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Now it's our turn. Mr. Moore and I have been waiting for a long while to be at this point. I was going to say it's been a week, but it's been longer than a week. It's been years. Our client, Zach Hughes, has been waiting for a lot longer than that. He's been waiting over 3 years, some 3 years and 3 months. As Mr. Mormon told you at the outset of this case, we are honored and privileged to be representing Zach. You're going to hear about Zach in the next day or two. You're going to hear that he's a very gifted and accomplished young man. He is 32 years old now. He was 29 when this happened. He's from a wonderful family. You've probably seen them seated back here in the courtroom throughout this trial so far. You're going to hear a little bit about his life. He was born in California. When he was still a boy, his parents took Zach and his brother, moved him to southwestern Virginia, where they moved into a small farm, and then they took on 5 orphan children who lived there with them. And you can hear that Zach was homeschooled. He learned the value of hard work and discipline as he grew up around the family farm. He helped his young siblings. His family moved to Greenville when Zach was a teenager. In Greenville, he finished high school, being homeschooled still. And you'll hear that his hard work and his discipline paid off, and he was accepted into a very fine college with scholarships. He went on where he studied music, and he won piano competitions. His emphasis was on piano performance. As an adult, Zach has had an accomplished career performing classical music and even recording classical music. So this is the time now for our case and for Zach to testify. But understand, ladies and gentlemen, that we have no obligation under the law or the Constitution to be doing this. This case actually could be over when the state rested. The state has the burden of proof of proving this case in every element of every charge beyond a reasonable doubt. We would not have to put up anybody. Zach wouldn't have to testify. Wouldn't have to put up any witnesses. In fact, if Zach were not here, his honor would instruct you that you couldn't use that against him. But we are going to do so. And Zach is going to testify because Zach has been waiting for this opportunity to tell a group of people like you what really happened, which is that he took the life of Christina Parcell. And crucially, he's been waiting and wanting to tell you why. Now, the why to a case like this is very important because it goes to the heart of the matter, and that is malice. Okay, malice is what makes a homicide a murder. And we heard from that from the prosecution's opening, as you recall. The prosecution said that Zach was mad. They said he had an angry heart, that he wanted to inject himself into this custody dispute of somebody he knew. But that's not why it happened. And that is not what you were going to hear about why this happened. Now, as we turn to our case now, it's important to realize that we could have handled this case extremely differently. Okay, we could have attacked the sufficiency of the state's case. We could have brought in an expert to talk about the DNA. Okay, we didn't do that. We could have challenged the identification evidence. And I want you to consider the professional from law enforcement, from the state law enforcement division, who testified about the enhancement that they did on the videos and the photographs, and how they were able to use this fancy technology to enhance and to account for the differences between sunlight and shadow and the distance. And after all of that, and after all of the technical work that was done, The conclusion was that the guy on the bicycle was 6'5", a big guy like him. Well, as you probably noticed, and as you will see, Zach is shorter than I am. On a good day, I'm 10 foot. I'm 6 foot, 5 foot 10 inches. Okay, he's shorter than I am. Consider the other professional. There's one who spent a great deal of time looking at the enhancement of the person on the bicycle. And after all that time, what was that conclusion? That this person had a beard, has to be a man. And they enlarged it and they used, again, all of that technical information to take a look at it. This guy had a beard. This is before they had any suspects. Well, what do we know about Zach and what we learned about Zach? He was clean shaven. We know that from a couple of days prior, and we know that from a couple of days after. We could have attacked that. We could have attacked the identification from the neighbor. As you remember, a neighbor, after 3 years, came into court. And all of a sudden, after 3 years, was able to identify the man whose picture had been on television for the past 3 years. Had never told anybody even that she could identify somebody. And this was somewhere between 8 and 8:15 in the morning. And what you're going to find, ladies and gentlemen, is that couldn't have happened because the person on that bicycle was not even in that neighborhood for at least an hour to an hour and 15 minutes later. But we didn't attack that. We could have done that, and we could have made mountains of objections throughout this trial. And as you heard, we made very few, and we did not do it. And why is that? Because Zach wants to take the stand and tell you what happened. Now, the prosecution has told you that they will prove this malice in this case by showing you that Zach was mad, that he was angry. And malice is a key part of this case because malice is the very essence of the definition of murder. Okay? So what is murder? Murder is the killing of somebody with malice aforethought. And what is malice? The prosecution told you it's anger, that is madness, and that is a component of it. The definition, though, it is the killing of a person without just cause or excuse. The intentional doing of a wrongful act without just cause or excuse. And I want you to think about those words, that definition, as you listen to the testimony that you're about to hear in this case. The why to the homicide is very important because it gives insight into the person's heart. In this case, you were going to hear that the why was not jealousy or greed or a crime of passion or some other emotion. You're going to hear that Zach did not act like an angry heart like the prosecutor conjectured. You're going to hear that this was not done for money or any other personal gain or benefit, not to help out any kind of friend. You're going to hear that this was done for a just cause. And that's not malice, and that's not murder. Thank you.
Councilman Burke.
Your, the witness is just making a phone call. He'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to send you back to the jury room for a moment, and then I will be back with you. I really want to also thank you just for your patience. We've had a lot of legal issues that I've had to take up with the attorneys, okay? So I will be back with you shortly. Okay, welcome back. I would have kept you in here if I had knew I was going to get my answer so quickly. It is 12 o'clock. I'm going to ask that y'all return at 1:30. We're going to take a break, enjoy your lunch, and then we will pick up at that point. Again, I remind you of everything that I've punished you about before, and do not begin any kind of deliberations or discussions about this case. Okay, we'll see you back at 1:30. Thank you.
Okay, guys. So they are still at lunch. They haven't come back yet, but that just means that we are going to be here when this case gets good. So just to kind of fill in everybody what happened this morning, thank you, Miss Kathy, for letting us know. They kind of kept everybody up to date on X. Pretty Lies and Alibis posted a couple hours ago and says, judge says he understands the defense's argument, but it's not South Carolina law. He went to someone's house he didn't know and unalived her. The child wasn't home. It defeats any argument of defense of others. So, Fitz News, I think is who it is. They posted on X and says, key excerpt from the Rose Petal Red Rum, unaliver Zach Hughes, defense of others motion. I thought I had to act to save the child's life, Hughes said. I told myself I can't go on with my great life and leave her to drown. Hughes is admitting to the red rum, but citing an affirmative defense. let's read this. It's a piece of the filing. It says Zach did more to try and save AM. That would be the child, I assume. In June and July of 2021, Zach mailed publicly available pornographic images of Parcell to Parcell. Her neighbors passed, and I can't understand what that word is, something, in the hopes that these mailings would prompt Parcell to realize that at least some people knew what she was doing to AM, the child. Zach also hoped these mailings would prompt law enforcement, the guardian ad litem, and the family court to more fully investigate AM's home life and discover the abuse. Zach was wrong. The recipients of the mailings did not act on them. Sorry, y'all, I need some glasses this morning. Zach submitted an affidavit to the guardian ad litem and the family court on September 21st, 2021, in which he alleged that AM needed to be with Mello for her own good. The affidavit had no impact whatsoever. In the last-ditch effort, Zach called DSS at the end of September, beginning of October of 2021, and reported to DSS personnel that AM was being abused. DSS did nothing. With Mello in Italy, with law enforcement and the family court not acting to stop Post and Parcell, with the knowledge that Post and Parcell had unfettered access to AM every day, and with the knowledge that Parcell was a sociopath and Post was a wealthy fan of child pictures. Zach knew he was AM's only chance at survival. I thought I had to act to save the child's life. I told myself I can't go on with my great life and leave her to drown. Zach went about saving AM. So that's what has been posted, is in the filing. Somebody else says, to sum up, the defense admits that Zachary Hughes unalived Christina Parcell and says he did it in defense of her minor daughter due to allegations of ongoing SA and exploitation. If the judge allows this, the likely witnesses for the defense would be Christina's daughter, and Mello, and Zachary Hughes. What do you all think about that? Kathy says, in my opinion, the defense just hung their client out to dry by admitting he did it, especially if the judge stops him from saying why. Yeah, because they said that the judge said South Carolina law didn't have that rule or something. Crystal, not that I'm for unaliving, but what Christina did to her child and another child, then game on. You don't mess with children. Yeah, it's really, really sad. Kathy says, it's one of those two things can be true at the same time. She wasn't a nice person, but he shouldn't have done that either, in my opinion. Yeah. Well, I'm going to go back on mute, you guys, and we'll just wait until they come back. He said 1:30 and it's almost 2:00. So, they should be back anytime. But if anybody's got anything to do, go ahead and get her done. Get her done. from hillbilly crime. You can't hide from hillbilly crime. You can't hide from hillbilly crime. You can't hide from hillbilly crime. You may not know that there's a crew in town. The head hillbilly don't making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair. Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories. Don't pass away. Get the sound of a shotgun. All the secrets belong down. Voices loud and they so tight. Courthouse to the ground. Room sky, it can't be found. Neighbors are behind bars. Troubled minds, skeptics, treacherous reality in the past. It reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask the cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the secrets belong down. Voices loud in this soul. The courthouse to the ground. Blue sky, it can't be found. There's no cover. All the secrets belong down. In this old town.
Welcome back. Again, I asked, has anyone done any research or anything concerning this from any media outlet? Both would note for the record, jury indicates absolutely not. Vince?
May it please the court, the defense would call investigator Dan Bell.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Daniel Bevel.
Investigator Bevel, you were called in the state's case in chief. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And my understanding is it correct that you began working for the sheriff's office, Greenville County Sheriff's Office, roughly in 2012? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you've got a bachelor's degree from Troy University. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You testified about this previously, but briefly tell this jury what units you have served in the sheriff's office.
I started in patrol from 2012 to 2017. That's your standard uniform patrol deputies answering 911 calls, any kind of call for service. After that, I went to specialized investigations from 2017 on to, in there, I went to the Crimes Against Children unit from 2017 to 2019. That's any kind of child abuse, child neglect, child sex crimes. Then after that, 2019 to 2023, I went to the Internet Crimes Against Children unit. That's any kind of child exploitation.
Investigator Bevel, you talked about your time in the Crimes Against Children unit. When you're in a specific unit within the sheriff's office, do you receive specialized training associated with that type of unit?
Yes, sir.
Right. And so when you were on the road in uniform patrol, did you receive specialized training related to that?
Yes, sir.
And when you were in the unit of the Crimes Against Children, did you receive specialized training in that discipline?
Yes, sir.
And let me show you. Let me show you Defense Exhibit 65. Just take a look at this for identification only.
Yes, sir.
Investigator Bevel, for example, that is the report you drafted for the purpose of the harassment investigation. Is that correct?
It is, sir.
And so this is of the kind of report you would draft depending on what investigation you were conducting or what tasks you were performing with the sheriff's office.
That's correct.
As an investigator, are you familiar with a phrase called the lead investigator?
Yes, sir.
And ultimately, the lead investigator is just that, the investigator on a case who is ultimately responsible for the investigation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And in this case, Investigator Sparkman would be deemed or likely be the lead investigator. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Were you also the lead investigator in another case in connection with this case? Let me ask it a different way. On October the 19th, 2021, did you become the lead investigator in another case?
Ye-
State your objection.
Objection, this is going to fall under your previous ruling.
Okay.
I will sustain the objection.
Okay. Your Honor, due to Your Honor's previous order with the restriction, I'm going to move on, and I'm going to move on. Investigator Bevel, you testified, as you said, in the state's case in chief, and that was just last week, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
And I would imagine you're still familiar with your testimony in the state's case in chief.
Yes, sir.
And I want to talk to you about that testimony. And specifically, I want to refer to a specific portion of it. Do you remember during your direct examination, you testified about mailers and the contents of mailers that you had been provided in the early summer and through the summer of 2021? Do you remember that testimony?
I believe so. Are you referring to the mailers as what I was given by
Yes.
Postman Parcell?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you testified that those mailers had nude photographs of Christina Parcell in those mailers. Is that correct? Remember that?
Yes, sir.
And I've got a transcript. I want to ask you specifically about this exchange. Do you remember being asked by Mr. Wilkins, when you first got these photos, let me back up. Do you remember testifying about the fact there was a website listed on the photographs? Do you remember testifying to that?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember Mr. Wilkins asking you about questions about different fonts and different placement? Remember that?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember Mr. Wilkins asking you this question? Now, when you first got these photos, did you attempt to try to find the website on there? Do you remember that question?
Yes, sir.
And you testified, yes, sir. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
And then do you remember Mr. Wilkins asking you, how'd you do that? And you testified, I just typed the address into one of our computers in the office. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember Mr. Wilkins asking you, and what did you find? And you testified that the website no longer worked. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And then do you remember Mr. Wilkins asking you, so you put belladondigiorno.com escort site and put it in your computer, and you responded, yes, sir. Do you remember that?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
And he asked you what happened, and you said, it just redirected me to another escort website. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And then then he asked you, were any of those photos on that escort site? And remember, you testified no.
John, I'm sorry, I got an objection. Can I
I'm
make?
almost done. I'm one more line.
I'm going to let him ask this question.
Do you remember Mr. Wilkins asked you, were any of those photos on that escort site? And you responded, no, sir. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And then just one more. Do you remember he asked you, was any pictures or were any pictures of Christina Parcell on any of those websites that you found? And you testified, no, sir. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that in the harassment report that I just showed you, defense exhibit?
Your Honor, I've got another objection I need to make. I need to just put it on the record.
Yeah, this is, I mean,
I'm sorry.
So again, let's pick up where we left off. I had reminded you of your testimony from last week, wherein you were asked the following about typing in this website. And you were asked what happened, and you testified it just redirected me to another escort website. Then you were asked, were any of those photos on that escort website? And you testified, no, sir. And then you were asked, which you previously testified to, were any of the pictures of Christina Parcell on any of those websites that you found? No, sir. You remember that testimony?
Yes, sir.
Isn't she in your report on the harassment allegations?
Your Honor, I'm leading.
Your Honor, he's an adverse witness, 611C. He testified for the state. He's a member of the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. I have every single right to lead him pursuant to 611C.
Your Honor, he is their witness. They call him. In
And what-
direct examination.
Witness, I'm going to sustain the objection.
All right. Well, I'm going to show you Defense Exhibit 65 again. Look at this bottom paragraph. Would you please read what I have bracketed to the jury?
Yes, sir. I photographed the 6 envelopes and the contents of the open ones. The open ones were addressed to Brad Post. One contained black and white nude images of Parcell with the address checklist. The images have a web address of http://belladonna.escort-site.com. I checked this web address and it was not valid. It redirected me to another escort site under a different URL. The other contained several of the same images, but were not in color.
So is it true, based on this report, that you were redirected to other websites that had the same images that were in those envelopes? Isn't that correct?
No, sir.
Isn't that what you said in your report?
That's poorly worded on my part, but I meant the other envelopes. Same images were not in color.
What are you saying you meant?
The images that were in the other envelopes, not another website.
So didn't you say that you found these on the internet? Isn't that what you said in your report?
No, sir.
Tell me again what you said. Yeah, please read it again for the jury. Read it again.
It's okay if I go to the relevant part instead of
Yeah,
everything.
and I've got a bracket there.
Okay. Photographed 6 envelopes and the contents of the open ones. The open ones were addressed to Brad Post. One envelope, or it just says one contained black and white nude images of Parcell with the address checklist. The images have the web address of http://belladonna.escort-site.com. I checked this web address and it was not valid. It redirected me to another escort site under a different URL. The other contained several of the same images, but were in color. Now, like I explained, it's poor wording on my part, but I was referring to the other envelopes contained several of the same images, but they were in color. I wasn't referring to another website.
And in your report, you don't distinguish between envelopes and websites, do you?
Like I said, it was just poor wording, but I was referring to just other envelopes had the same images, just in color.
And isn't it true that it is very possible that those images could have been online and just taken down at the time you tried to look at it? Isn't that true?
In another website? Is that what you're referring?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
One second. Those are all the questions I would ask Investigator Bevel in this context. Yeah, I don't have anything further on the examination.
Okay, please, court, briefly. Did you ever find naked photos of Christina Parcell on the internet when you checked?
No, sir.
It's because it didn't exist that you could find.
Not that I could find.
No further questions.
Nothing else.
Okay.
Your Honor, there is, Your Honor, pursuant to your previous ruling, I would like to present some information in the absence of the jury.
From hillbilly crime, you can't hide. From hillbilly crime, you can't hide. From hillbilly crime, you can't hide. From hillbilly crime. You may not know that there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dog passed away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets still on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside. A treacherous reality in the pines.
Wind reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask the cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the secrets still on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Okay, guys, it looks like they have sent the jury home for the rest of the day. So we will go ahead and end this stream here for today, and we will see you guys back at 7 tonight, and we will start Ben Fields' testimony on his deposition. All right, guys. Well, thank you for being here. We'll see you this evening. Bye. Peace out, Girl Scout.